joined by my colleague Chesta at the Western Norway Research Institute, and we're leading work package 4. And of course, welcome to all other colleagues from the different packages in our project. DeCrises focuses on how Europe is navigating the twin transition, becoming this both greener and more digital, while facing multiple overlapping crises such as rising energy prices, climate impacts, and growing social inequalities. So today's session aims to share knowledge and practical experience on how policies and decisions related to decarbonization and development of and implementing of these initiatives are going forward. The discussion should focus on the 4 case studies that we have, exploring empirically and examining how a diverse range of actors can be meaningfully included in decisions on decarbonization and digitalization. So we have about 20 participants that are registered, maybe a bit more. We'll hope that more will come. They're representing in industry, civil society, public authorities, and research organizations from several European countries. So it's a nice diversity. So please feel encouraged to share your views and experiences at the end of this the session. We'll have a small debate. Today's session is just the first part of our first participation workshop. In the coming weeks, we will organize session 2 at the national level for each case. So if you're interested, please let us know. You will receive further information by email. Today, we will focus on the first 3 work packages of the DeCrises project and their connection to work package 4. Each work package will have 10 minutes of a presentation, more or less, and have a short reflection afterwards. But we'll have a open session at the end, and we'll wrap up at about 60 minutes from the entire workshop. Work package 4 connects these all real-world experiences with how different cases in Finland, as we can see in the map, Norway, Latvia, and Poland. The aim is to identify what's missing and what's challenging on the ground, and where that needs to be strength to work together and among all the work packages of the project. So I've been asked to give a short presentation of just 2 minutes of the 4 cases that we have, and I can start with Finland. As you can see, it's Fingrid's Datahub that we're focusing on. This is a centralized information system initiative created for the country's electricity retail market. The goal is to enable real-time exchange of information to encourage societal participation, and it has a customer and business interest groups participating in its development. So as you can see, it's a very centralized initiative that shows us how this multi-level governance can be addressed by encouraging participation. In Latvia, we have the case of City of Riga, which focuses on bottom-up neighborhood self-organized initiatives. There are 34 neighborhoods united under the Riga Neighborhood Alliance. And the goal is to strengthen the role of civil society in planning and management towards sustainability of the city. So in this case, it's a more civil society initiative that can show us how social innovation is going up from a bottom-up perspective. Then we have the case of Norway, the Green Region Vestland. The goal is to translate national green transitions into regional business-oriented action based on industrial symbiosis as a concept with social innovation between companies. It's structured around 19 hubs with more than 250 organizations. So it's more like an industrial-based initiative that also is bottom-up and trying to make a difference in the region. And at the end, we have the case of Poland in the Municipality of Potęgowo, where digitalization of renewable energy projects accounting for about 60 energy sources, where mostly is wind. The goal here is to stimulate local energy development and contribute to regional energy security and serve as an exemplary model for rural municipality of Poland. So in other words, these 4 cases are very different, and we hope that they complement each other and we can discuss and focus on what the work pages until now have done. So with that, I just want to go directly and begin with the first work package.
I just have to set some house rules, which is that we will be recording the presentations that our partners are going to do now, but we will pause the recording when the presentations are over, and we will see if somebody has a problem with that during the discussion. If not, then we can continue the recording. But for now, we will just, the first half of the session will be recorded for future promotional use of the session today. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Jesta. Yes, let us begin with work package 1, Vineta from Riga Standis University. Please, the floor is yours. You can share your slides. Thank you.
So, yes, hello everyone. I will. So, do you see my slides now correctly?
Yes.
Full screen, right? Okay, so yes, my name is Vineta Klemberga. I'm the leader of the work package 1, which basically deals with the conceptualization of multi-level governance in the EU. So if Joaquin said that they are concentrating on 4 case studies, we will, in this presentation, move a bit beyond them and have a bit more general look on what multi-level governance means, and who are those actors who shape decisions in the green and digital transition. So, as I said, in this work package, we focus on theoretical framework of multi-level governance. Our main aim is to refine it, to make it more contemporary and based on actual situation on the ground. And just to put it very simply, what it means, what multi-level governance means, it means that we have many levels. So supranational, like EU, European Economic Area, Baltic Sea region. Then we have national levels, like member states, governments, parliaments, and agencies, etc. And then we have subnational levels, like in some countries it's regions, in all countries it's municipalities, and there are some local administrations, etc. So there are many levels which interact among themselves. And then we have like people who are interacting within these levels, and these are public actors and private actors. Public actors are those who have some institutional roles and formal roles, while private actors, it's businesses, NGOs, local communities, social partners, and so on. So our key question in our work package is who of these actors, who has the influence over decisions and why? And what we have done is that we have actually changed the focus on how to look at the multi-level governance and how to analyze it. While before, most focus has been on authority, so who has the authority, we now want to focus on the influence, so who has the influence in the multi-level governance. As well, before, lots of attention has been paid to institutional positions, procedures, how the governance is made, whether civil society, for example, has been involved, etc. But now we move away from this approach, and we want to look at the capacities. So who has the capacity to influence decisions? Because even if you have this formal position, you may not be too influential. So we are moving away from formal power to informal influence. And we have also done and collected some evidence from our case country studies to contribute to our refinement. So what do we see? We see that there is a mismatch, that those actors who are the most affected by decisions, they often have the least influence on them. It can be municipalities, it can be small and medium-sized businesses, it can be local communities. And here I have put this, that municipalities, local communities, small businesses, they are very highly exposed to decisions, but they very often have a very low influence on how these decisions are made. For example, like municipalities, they have to adapt local heating systems, public transportation infrastructures to the EU directives. Local communities, they have to decide on wind farm siting. Local businesses, local communities, they have to look for investment for these decisions. But at the same time, they are not the ones who define the targets, who negotiate them, who shape the standards, namely who actually influence those decisions. And what we see from our empirical research is that it's basically EU institutions, national governments, large businesses, and different EU-level umbrella organizations, which have a high influence on decisions because they are able to shape the rules early. What does it allow us to conclude is that influence in the governance process, it's not about formal roles. It depends on whether actors have capacities. And these capacities can be grouped in several groups. So one is capacity to have an early access to decision-making process. Another one is related to resources. It can be financial resources, human resources, organizational resources, time resources, etc. Then the other group is related to knowledge. So you have to have expertise, understanding, knowledge about the directives and regulations which are being made. And then the last group would be the network. So are you embedded in any informal networks between ministries, EU institutions, businesses, social partners, professional associations, etc.? Do you have this power? So capacity means that you have all these elements, and the capacity doesn't mean that you are just being invited to participate in public consultation or any other format related to deliberation. What else we see from our empirical research is, yes, decision-making is centralized. Those who set the agenda are basically the EU-level institutions and more concretely, the European Commission. It's national governments which participate in the bargaining and negotiation process about targets, aims, strategies. But other levels, they join later, either in public consultation when the law has already been drafted, or even later, only at the implementation stage. And what is the key challenge here? What we see is that this public participation, it occurs reactively, basically during conflicts, when the situation has already come to the conflict, rather than proactively during the policy formation. And the wind farm implementation and construction process is a very good example of this. Many local communities have not been involved in the policy formation. They learn about it only at the stage of implementation, and then the conflict starts on whether the wind farm should be there or not, and how it should be built, and who should benefit actually from this. Then again, very often in theory and also in practice, it's said that we have to ensure transparency. Then everyone will be able to join the discussions. But what we see is that in many cases, information is available, but the problem is that these processes are very complex, technical, and fast. For example, we see documents which are given to public consultation, which are 500 pages long. They are technical, there are short deadlines for submitting the comments. So in practice, the public consultation is open to all, but it requires legal and technical expertise, which many actors usually don't have. So the key challenge is that in practice, only well-resourced actors can follow and engage substance-wise in the governance processes, while others can manage only probably to follow the process procedurally. What else? Yes, also what is important, it is important that the different levels collaborate, because we all know, yes, the targets are set at the EU level, they are translated into national legislation, but the implementation, we need all levels and all actors to participate to implement it. And the key challenge here is that we see a very strong collaboration and interaction between the EU and national levels, but very weak collaboration between national and regional, municipal and local levels. And this is a problem again, because they are actually the main implementers of the rules, but they have not participated in the drafting of them. They are not co-designers, and they are kind of not the owners of the rules, and it creates challenges in implementation. So these are just two examples. Yes, municipality and local communities. So municipalities, they have to implement the climate rules. They pay costs of planning, of infrastructure, of services. The municipal budgets are stretched by climate investments. They also face the citizen pressure from the bottom. But they are not involved in early decision making. So they, on the one hand, they have high responsibility. On the other hand, they have low influence in governance. Local communities, yes, they are affected by wind farms, energy costs, digitalization processes. Formally, they can participate in public consultations, but in practice, they already face the situations, the decisions are already made, and the input is often not reflected into these decisions. So we see that, yes, they are involved and participate in the process, but this participation is not real. So what is our main conclusion is that the main problem in the multi-level governance is not the lack of participation, but the lack of capacity to influence this process. The multi-level governance system is formally inclusive, but in practice, it's unequal. Stakeholders are invited, but they cannot shape outcomes because of capacities. And what needs to be changed, therefore, what we are saying is that we don't need new institutions for it, but we have to use the existing structures better. Which means just a few things which I can mention here. Involve actors earlier, already before drafting the policies, simplify processes, translate technical rules into usable formats, improve communication and access, provide longer timelines, shorter documents, strengthen the capacity of subnational actors. It means many things, training, staffing and funding. And another thing, be creative. So institutionalize social innovation, benefit from participatory co-creation, co-learning practices, which have already been used locally. So that's the end of my presentation. I will just leave this rhetorical question on the screen for all of you who participate, just to think about what capacities would you need to influence policy decisions better. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vinette. That was exactly on time. We will have a discussion later on as a debate, but if there's any immediate comment, of course, we're open. I saw there was one hand, but okay, we can have it at the end so that we can have a good discussion. But one, of course, practical takeaway from work package 1 is this effective multi-level governance depends on clearly defined responsibilities of each level, where this capacity of influence that Vinette was explaining is where the key is. So with that, we just go to the next work package 2. Please, Veronica from Comenius University of Bratislava, Slovakia. You can share your slides, then the floor is yours. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Joaquin and Vinette. So I will share my screen. Can you see it, please?
Yes, we do.
Okay, perfect. So I will follow up on you, Vinette, because indeed multi-level governance is a challenge, And in a second work package, we are focusing on the regional twin transition and interregional initiatives. So the main objectives of this work package are to analyze approaches to regional governance, investigating participation, participatory regional governance, and also analyzing regional social innovations. So far, we did the first task, which is to examine and compare different approach to regional governance within the context of just twin transition. We are sometimes using the EU countries, but of course Norway is not in the EU, but the rules are basically the same when it comes to implementation of green and digital policies. Just one small remark that within this work package, we use regional as a synonym to subnational because that is the main focus. So when we look at the regional governance of the twin transition, we looked at the 4 countries, which are the case study countries in the project. We selected 13 regions in particular, and we looked mostly on the national frameworks, which are laws and strategies that kind of set the main framework for implementation of green and digital policies. And then we looked at the regional practice. We looked at the institutions, we looked at the social innovations in the particular regions, and also we decided to look at Interreg projects because these are very good example of how the cooperation looks like, and of course it is comparable, and we can see how the projects put in practice the twin transition policies. So when we looked at the legal framework, first we saw that regions matter, but they are of course not equally empowered. It depends from the country to country. And the thing is that it makes the idea of kind of a unique regional governance, unite regional governance very difficult, because there are different capacities, as there are same policy goals, which are climate neutrality, for example, goes through different institutional routes and channels. The biggest difference, what we saw are among Latvia and Poland, because Latvia has planning regions, which are more of a coordination units without self-government, and on the other side there's Poland with voivodeships, which are very strong self-governing. There's very strong self-governing element in it. So when we looked at the national and regional frameworks that enable twin transition and the policies, we saw that mostly at the national level, the green transition is embedded across planning, environment, energy, transport, and adaptation. And digitalization is usually within public administration, the e-government, cybersecurity, and also connectivity being very important, especially in Finland and Norway, having the remote areas. So when the kind of the main takeover from this is that green policies roles are much more clear than digital roles, and twin transition policies are rarely explicit in the national and regional framework. They are not mentioned, which is something that was of course expected. And another takeaway is that the coordination capacity, and I will follow also on what Vineta said, because we saw also in this package that coordination capacity is very much important, and sometimes it is more important than the formal legal legal framework. So when we move on, we looked at the regional administration and social innovation in regional practice, and we saw that the institutional capacities of the regions in green and digital transition is visible through several departments, agencies, and organizations. The integrated twin transition is mostly handled through different project coordination activities, innovation structures. There are no dedicated unit, which of course we expected, but the twin transition is embedded within the structure as such. The same is with social innovation. Of course, it is rarely defined explicitly in regional documents and appears through various forms such as participation, co-creation, multi-actor governance, as well partnerships. And what we kind of found out, and that is the main takeaway from that the social innovations themselves are kind of an enabling condition for the twin transition, because these are that turn strategies into cooperation and experimentation then. And finally, when we are talking about the Interreg projects in digital and green and twin transition, what we did, that we focused on the 13 regions from the 4 countries, and we extracted all the projects that were held from the beginning since 2000 up until these days, and we gained more than 3,000 unique projects. Then we coded them and assigned a category if they belong to the digital transition, green transition, or twin transition. And what we found out that, of course, that digital and green transition projects are embedded since the beginning. In the Interreg projects, there are more than 1,000 projects dedicated to the green policies. These were mostly related to mobility, transport, renewable energy development, biodiversity, and circular economy. When it comes to digital policies, there are mostly services connected to e-government, but also development of digital skills and education and data-driven solutions, for example, in culture or social care. And what is interesting is that there is the rising number of twin transition projects, because we can see that under the current financing period, the number of twin transition projects, which is the darkest orange bar, is almost the same that was in a previous financing period. And the period is not over, so we can expect more projects to come. So we see that kind of a twin transition is not a formal policy, but it has very much the project logic embedded in itself, because there are data, platforms, skills, and cooperation that are delivering climate and energy objectives. So thank you very much. This is, if you would like to follow us on social media, we'll be more than happy, and I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Veronica, and thank you for sharing the link for anyone who is interested in the project. There is a lot to read and learn from it in our webpage. Of course, a very important takeaway from work package 2 is that there is a need for flexible systems that can capture regional specificities and support what the region really needs and the different variation that exists in all the different contexts that these projects are in. But with that, and going well with our time, I'll introduce you to work package 3. We have Rodrigo from LUT, University of Finland. Please, Rodrigo, you can share your slides and the floor is yours. We see your slides, but we cannot hear you yet.
Okay, now you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my phone has some problem. Sorry. Okay, so sorry. Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. Well, I will briefly present work package 3 here, and then I'll try to focus to present the logic of our work package for you to understand it, what we want to do it, and some preliminary results. Thank you very much for the previous presentations, Ineta and Veronica. They were really nice, and it's good to follow up on them. Well, so our work package is about examining the EU green and digital strategies and understanding what they mean in practical terms for the energy transition. So, like in simple terms, our role in this work package is to look at the main EU documents, identify the main principles and priorities behind them, and then turn that into something useful for the next phases of our project and of our analysis. So we want to develop some indicators in order to assess the case studies based on them. So first, we want to understand what kind of direction the EU is giving in relation to the green and digital transitions. And second, we want to convert that into a more practical basis for our case study. So a setting of guiding questions and criteria that we can later use when looking at real situations in different countries and sectors. So the idea is to understand how these strategies reflect in practice and how the practical experience from the case studies can inform and improve this strategy. So this part of the project works as like a bridge between the EU level policy ideas and the practical realities we will examine later. Well, briefly, I want to explain how these work packages are organized. It's organized into 5 connected tasks. The first 2 tasks are focused on analyzing the EU documents themselves. So the task 3.1 looks at the main documents related to the European Green Deal, and task 2 does the same for the main documents related to the EU digital strategy. Both of those tasks are completed or almost completed. Then in the 3rd and 4th tasks, we move from the EU level to the case study. So we use the results of the first 2 tasks to assess how these principles appear in practice, what kinds of challenges emerge from the case studies, and what kinds of trade-offs need to be managed. And then finally, task 3.5 in the end of our work package will bring everything together into a broader framework, theoretical framework for thinking about data governance and data security in digitalized energy system. So the logic of our package is quite straightforward. First, understand what the EU is proposing, then use that to look at the real cases, and finally build a broader framework based on both the policy analysis and the practical findings. At this stage, our main focus is on the first 2 tasks, because this is what we have done so far. The first task is completed, and the second task is almost completed. So we have some preliminary results of the package to present here. And I think they're really interesting for us to discuss, especially in light of what has been talked by Vineta and Veronica as well. So from the first task, this resulted in a public report that maps the EU green transition framework across 6 main areas. So secure energy, clean economy, smart mobility, research and innovation, and EU global leadership and climate issues. So the main result clear, and the main finding is here is quite clear. I mean, it's the The EU has built a broad and ambitious framework for decarbonization and climate neutrality. So from a policy point of view, there is no shortage of goals, plans, or strategic direction. The Green Deal provides a strong overall vision and also connects climate goals with energy security, industrial change, innovation, and broader economic transformation. But at the same time, our analysis shows that the main challenge is implementation. So across the different areas that we analyze, some recurring problems appear. One is investment. So the transition requires a great deal of funding, and the ability to mobilize that funding is uneven among partners, among the countries and regions. The other one, very important and pivotal to our project, is coordination. So many of these goals depend on action by different institutions and actors at different levels. So the success of this strategy depends on how well the EU, national governments, regional actors, and others work together. So that's the importance of multi-level governance coordination to implement these strategies. And the third issue is, again, as already mentioned before, uneven capacity. So not all countries or regions are equally prepared to implement the same goals at the same speed or the same way. There's also the issue of public and political resistance, especially when policies involve costs, difficult adjustments, or unequal impacts across sectors and territories. So the key takeaway from task 3.1 is that the EU has a strong green policy framework, but making it work depends heavily on coordination, capacity, and legitimacy in practice. So this is probably the most important practical lesson from this first task. Then we move to the digital strategy. This is not fully finished yet, as I mentioned, but we already have draft analysis and we already have some findings here as well. The first point is that digital strategy puts a strong emphasis on regulation, coordination, and in Europe's ability to shape its own digital future. And so you can see in the slides the documents we have analyzed in this task, and they cover a very broad set of issues, right? So it's a very diverse corpus of analysis. And even though this is a more diverse set of documents than we have in the Green Deal case, there are still some common themes there. So digital policy is often presented as a way to support innovation, competitiveness, better use of data, and strong resilience. And there is a clear, again, like in the green strategy, there is a clear level of ambition here, but the analysis also shows recurring tensions. One of the tensions is the market concentration. So even when the EU promotes competition and openness, the large digital actors still hold a great deal of power. This is a problem. Another one is uneven inclusion and access. So not everyone has the same ability to benefit from digital systems, digital infrastructure, or data-based opportunities. And the third issue is, again, implementation. So good regulation does not automatically mean easy implementations, and then institutions need the resource, capacity, and coordination to make these rules work in practice. So again, multi-level governance here is fundamental, right? And for our project, there's another one especially important point. Digitalization is often presented as something that helps the green transition, and of course it might help, and it helps in many ways. It can improve monitoring, efficiency, flexibility, coordination, but it can also create new energy demands, new resources pressures, and new governance challenges. So digitalization has to be looked at a critically and realistically way. Again, multi-level governance here can help us to analyze in practice what are the necessary conditions for digitalization to boost the green transition. And this is one of the interesting findings here in task 3.2. So towards the end of my presentation, putting those two tasks together, I think we can start to have some broader picture now. So the first point is that the EU is clearly ambitious in both the green and digital transitions. And the issue that emerges is whether these ambitions can be made to work in practice in a coordinated and just or fair way. So in our view, at least three things stands out here. So the first one is coordination. This has been well discussed in the first two work packages, and they are it's like the conductor wire of our project. The second one is fairness. So both green and digital transitions create uneven costs and uneven benefits. This mismatch that Vineta was mentioning in the beginning. So an important question is always who gains, who is the burden and how are those differences managed, right? And the third is trade-off. So digitalization can support decarbonization, but it can also increase energy use, create new dependencies, and raise questions about data control and power. So I think the main preliminary conclusion from our package so far is that beyond the settings of ambitious goals, the twin transition's main challenges are to make these goals like workable, fair, and realistic in practice. And this depends on multi-level governance. So the next steps in our work package will bring these analysis to the case studies. Then the case studies, the findings in the case studies will come back to the strategy. We will assess the strategy based on the findings in the case studies. And then from them we will have this broad perspective that will allow us to have this theoretical framework that we aim to develop to help us to analyze the whole thing. So thank you very much. I hope it was useful, and I'm open to our discussion later. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Very insightful, and of course, a lot to work and learn from this. Clear rules, accountability, fairness are fundamental policies in these efforts that we're doing to make a change. We, of course, have people here that have a lot of insights from the case studies, as you were saying. And so the next 15, 20 minutes that we have would be very nice if we can have a discussion. So I'll ask anyone who has first impressions or a specific comment or question to the presentations or their own experience is more than welcome. Please, I see Marius has the first hand, please.
Hi everyone, I'm from Riga Neighborhood Alliance, and I thought, okay, I have a little experience, very little experience with this kind of workshops, but I felt that this connection with things we were dealing with in the last weeks or last days. For example, the community I'm representing in Riga, we held several meetings. The big sustainable aviation fuel factory is built next to our community, and we are interested how it will affect us. And this is like you have a lot of theory, and we in our turn we try to put find ways in practice how to deal with it. And we understand that this is a good place for this factory. There is and they will build it. So our thing is to make sure that it will not disrupt our way of life in some bad ways. And other things that is going on is like we have a big discussion in Riga now about these local communities, neighborhood alliance, yes, and then there is a lot of these neighborhood communities, these smaller units, and what are their reach? What is their how can they represent all these people in their community or part of it, and how municipality have to do with it. And there was one legal precedent, and we are now putting together a statement, and we are thinking about it, and we will be thinking about it a lot, because one thing that this digital transition includes, in my opinion, is that there is a lot of these information bubbles, and these are also manifesting their ways that there is a lot of fights about different things, and this this makes it harder to represent your community, because you have these bubbles inside your community and different opinions. And so one of our ideas is how you deconflict this community so that they can agree about things, about where I can see that they have like many people maybe disagree and have spat on the internet, but I see that on these main issues, they're about in the same page. Simply, they don't like each other, and so the conflicting is very important. I don't know. I hope this helps you.
It helps a lot. Thank you. That's precisely the passion that we wanted to see what is really happening on the ground.
Okay.
Are there any other comments to complement other experiences? Yes, Farid, please.
If I can react to what Maris said, if you allow me, sorry to interfere in business.
Yes, of course.
First of all, thank you so much, Maris. It was great points that you brought. I just want to kind of reiterate that actually, first of all, as a coordinator of this project, I'm very grateful that we have had a chance to engage with you from day one of this project, and it's a great help to us. But the things is that I want to also say that what you mentioned is very helpful for us, because we have another workshop specifically on Riga. And these concerns that you raised and these questions that you raised is actually the food for that workshop, that I really hope that you could participate in that workshop, and we try to accommodate your timetable so that we'll ensure that you will be there. And I think Vineta will take on that and write down these two issues, and definitely we'll go through it in details and see, because this is the aim. We want to, as you mentioned, we are not want to stand on yet another theoretical things. Well, we want to actually provide recommendation and consultations, you know, how you can deal with these questions that you raise. So I think Vineta, please note these two issues that Maris said, and for the second workshop, for the case of Riga. Thank you.
Thank you, Farid, and thank you, Maris. Yes, we have already talked to Maris that we will have this workshop actually at his place, at the Riga Neighborhood Alliance place, and I'm sure we will have fruitful discussions. But the thing which you mentioned, I think it really kind of confirms something what we have done in our conceptual work. It says that yes, again, there is a factory being built, but the question is whether the communities have been actually involved in the process of making a decision about this factory and about the place where it is. It may be that I mean, it's fine that the place is fine, but I think the communities should have been listened to before the decision, not just being informed after the decision, and then the debate starts. So what is it, what they need in order to feel satisfied about the decision? And the other thing, it's very important as well. It's kind of, it's a question about accountability. So we want, I mean, what we identified that subnational actors and civil society, local communities, they very often lack these organizational capacities. But then the question, when they organize, like in the case of Riga, they are organized, they represent communities. Then the question which others may ask is, do they represent all of us, or do they represent a certain group? So I think it should be also, I mean, it should be taken into account, and this granularity should also be looked at when we discuss about capacities of the civil society actors. So thank you, Mark.
Thank you. I would encourage also people who are coming from the other places, other countries, that could show us and tell us a little bit of your own impressions. What is that is really needed? What is that social innovation seen from your perspective? If there's anyone who could explain that, we would be very grateful for it. As well, for anyone from the project that has any specific comment over how is that social innovation is approaching as an identity of a community, or as an industrial a group that is trying to make things go over different levels. Yes, please, Veronica.
Thank you very much. I don't want to steal much space, but when you were asking about other experiences, I come from Slovakia, which is very much debated country now due to geopolitical, let's say, attitudes of the government, and we face very interesting thing when it comes to our local and regional public authorities, but also civil society, that they are very much lost in climate and digital transition. And what they need is kind of a national support, national guidelines, which is exactly the opposite what we are doing in our project and what we are debating, because the goal is, you know, to take account into the bottom up approach. But when we speak with our municipalities and our regional authorities, they very much need the kind of a national guidelines of how to do, I don't know, waste management better, or how to develop renewable energy. So it is kind of the opposite driver. And I don't know if it is fortunate, but I feel like that some support from the national level is needed.
Absolutely. What we've seen in many cases is that the national government is the one that can create that coordination, especially if you give too much independence to regions, they might diversify their strategies and sometimes go away from the twin transition goals. So there's a risk there, but that of course is interesting based on our findings, where we try to see that it's the bottom-up perspective that should be the focus, and it's that the communities should decide to be part of the system. But please, if there's any other comment or experience, we would like to hear from you. There is, of course, a big need in understanding what the twin transition is in the practice, because from our theoretical point of view is seen from one side, but on the ground it could be quite tricky, right? Because so many definitions and so many ways of seeing it, especially combining with social innovation. What is that really? What kind of new relations are being built? So anything that comes from the heart from also anyone from the project is more than welcome now. Yes, Maris, please.
If I may again, one thought about this digital transition. One thing that I see is that a lot of people avoid using products of large American corporations, which like Facebook or WhatsApp. Not a lot, but a significant part. And they worry about privacy and how they are like not only privacy, but interrupting their way of life. But this is also like leaves them out of some information loops. And I would be happy to see that in Europe we have some product which is not so commercialized and really not like not sharing so much information as these American digital products. This would be good for these local communities also. But I think, I know this is a very hard thing to do, but I just wanted to voice this thing.
Absolutely. The experience that you're having in Riga, from what I understand, is very that there's a lot of ways of thinking and learning from it, right? This initiative that you're having in showing up very integrated and passionate about it. Well, yes, we have 4 minutes. If there are any more comments that anyone else would like to say anything, more than welcome. We know that digitalization needs rules. Technology must be designed to include and engage the public and recognize that identity that is being built. So it's a focus where there needs to be fair preparedness and where the people need to be recognized and find the coordination of new relations as social innovation. So the Crisis project is not only about abstract theory, but it has to be about making the twin transition work for real people and making a real difference on the ground. So I hope that you will be able to participate in the coming sessions and the workshops that we're going to have. This is just the beginning, where our idea is that we make them more participative so that you can have more discussions, especially in session 2 that is coming in a few weeks, where we'll be able to hear more about your perspectives and the people that are involved. So with that, if there's any more comment, we're finished. 1 hour went very fast. Yes, Farid, please.
I just put it in the chat, but I just want to reiterate to invite all participants to, please try to join us to the other workshops and ask your colleagues and networks, people in your network also to participate. You don't have to be an expert in a specific case study or in a specific country, but from different perspectives, different experience, different backgrounds would be very enriching for us and to participate in a workshop. So please spread the word if you can as well, and please try to participate in the other workshop, which is more engaging. This was more informative.
And just to add to that, even if you cannot attend this next coming session, we are going to have around 12 focus group discussions and sessions throughout the DeCrises project, because our focus is on informing and empowering. So you can also register on that same link to become part of the network, and we can keep notifying you when we have next sessions organized throughout the next year. So we really look forward to your participation.
Very well. Thank you to everyone.